good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for joining us during our weekly virtual MLS breakfast meeting. My name is Vincent Hao from VAAC International, and I'm your July MLS program chair. Just a little bit about me. Uh, my name is Vincent, and our small firm is in San Marino. We have a background for the have some background in commercial and the residential development, and our small firm in San Marino. We've been in business since 2004. So it's my great honor to be your July program chair. And thank you for having me here. And let me do a little bit few housekeeping tips. All participants will be muted upon entry of the MLS breakfast meeting. Should you have a question or a comment, please enter it into the chat box and the host will read it and during the question and answer portion of the meeting. And join us weekly. Our virtual MLS breakfast meeting is every week on Thursday at 9 o'clock. Register in advance for the meeting, and after registering, you will receive a confirmation email containing information about joining the meeting. The next slide, please. And please follow us on the social media. We have a Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and a recent new feature for the text message service. For updates, you can text WSGVR to the number 72727. And of course, our website, wsgvar.com. And quick tip, CRML's Rule 8.3, responsibility for accuracy. Upon receipt of the first publication or electronic transfer by the MLS of listing information, the listing broker shall make all necessary corrections. An example of a violation to Rule 8.3 occurs when a listing is not updated within 5 calendar days of the estimated close of escrow date that was entered on the listing. As a result, the listing is automatically closed by the system and is moved into the status of auto sold, appeared as a red flag on the MLS. Make sure to correct the violation by the corrective action deadline provided in your CRMOS warning notice email to prevent the issuance of the citation and the fine. And for our agenda today, we have affiliate spotlight, Deborah Lepedes, CE Shop, speaker, attorney William Yan, Sapient Law Group. To be eligible for today's raffle, you must be a WSGVR member and your name must be displayed to win. We will not accept telephone numbers. So today our affiliate spotlight brought to you by affiliate committee chair Sach Gomez, my NHD, vice chair Brendan Savransky, first American NHD. Welcome our affiliate spotlight, Deborah Lepides. Deborah?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the West San Gabriel Valley Realtors for the opportunity to join this meeting this morning. And the CE Shop is a one-stop shop, full-service regulatory real estate educational provider. Our agents and students have unlimited access to our award-winning online interactive learning platform and course offerings created by industry leaders in curriculum, real estate education, compliance, and approvals. We offer competitive course price packages that fulfill the California requirements for pre-licensing, renewals, post-licensing, and continuing education in all 50 states and DC. And this is valuable for uh, real estate agents that have multi-state license. They're multi-state license holders. Our catalog also covers multiple courses that satisfy the NAR Code of Ethics requirements. We work closely with CAR and NAR and our convenient and innovative Exam Prep Edge study program provides up-to-date content using a blend of text, video, audio, and graphics to master incrementally to increase student engagement of content and efficient learning. We are proud of our industry-leading 91% national pass rates and a 97% student satisfaction rate. Our customer support team is available 7 days a week via phone, email, or online chat to provide access to expert consultants and instructors. We provide convenience at your fingertips, but agents have access to their courses on the go, which is accessible on any device, computer, tablet, or smartphone, anywhere, anytime. When you partner with the CE Shop through our affiliate program, we create, host, and maintain a no-cost, turnkey, co-branded site where you direct your traffic to enroll, so your brand stays prominent throughout the agent experience. If I can, maybe I can just for a moment show you the co-branded site. Here is the co-branded site, as you can see from the CE Shop, a carousel of getting your license, our exam prep, post-licensing, continuing education. We provide a co-branded site where we create, host, and maintain a no-cost turnkey co-branded site where you direct your traffic and your brand stays prominent throughout the agent experience. We also provide a ton of co-branded marketing collateral to promote the co-branded site, special discounts, monthly promotions, and a one-day 40% off flash sale on all CE Shop products and services. The real estate industry is constantly updating content to keep you informed on all subject matters relevant to your success. And as an affiliate partner, one of our great benefits is our that is found on the co-branded site is what we call our agent essentials. This is a complimentary, no subscription required resource hub that houses everything from business building tips, topics and trends, and technology, keeping you informed of the ever-changing real estate market. Our Agent Essentials Resource Hub includes ebooks, podcasts, blogs, and videos. And we continually feature new content and agent resources every month. Some of the topics you can find in that resource library would be your social media marketing plan, low housing inventory, fair housing, a closer look at the psychology of home buying, how to become a luxury real estate agent, lead generation, home staging. It's just a variety of topics and trends that we have for your agents, for our resources every month. We believe the right education can truly make a difference and take your career to the next level.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, although we didn't see your website, but I did catch the very important, you said that 40% off. So I will encourage everyone to check out your website for the courses you provided us.
Yes.
Yeah, and I did took the very important class from you guys. It's the new requirement for the sexual harassment class for me and our office. It's very nice, simple and easy, and very cost effective. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
so,
have a nice day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So for today, our top affiliates, let me introduce all our affiliates. First, we have Nancy Chen, lawyer title.
Good morning, everybody. Nancy Chan, lawyer's title. If you need any help, Let me know. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
And then Unita Wu in Home Warranty of America.
Unita, you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm trying. So hi, Unita Wu, Home Warranty of America, your 13 months home warranty. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
And we have a John Wax, Snap NHD.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing all very well and everything. I wish you a wonderful month. I'm here for all your NHD tax environmental needs and the home hardening and defensive space disclosures. Also, my information will be in the chat. John Wax, Snap NHD. Thank you.
And Sandy Franco, First American Home Warranty.
Good morning, everyone. Sandy Franco, First American Home Warranty. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend.
Mark Wu, Allstate Insurance.
Good morning, everybody. Agency owner Mark Wu for your property insurance needs. 5 languages out of our office. All licensed staff willing to assist your buyers through escrow.
Cosmo Sanchez, New and Funding.
All right, so I don't speak 5 languages like Mark Wu. I speak 2, English and Spanish. Cosmo Sanchez, when you aim funding, please reach out with any lending questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And then we have a Judy Chow, AAA Capital Investment.
Good morning, loan officer with AAA Capital. I speak 2 languages, Chinese and English, trying to pick up Spanish, and call me with any loan questions. Thank you.
You guys are adding pressure for our rest of the affiliates. We have Angie Tan, First American Title.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Angie Tang with actually Stewart Title. I'm trying to get the slide updated soon, but I'm with Stewart Title. Thank you, guys. Have a great caravan.
Thank you. Brandon Shavensky, First American NHD.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a fantastic July 4th weekend. This is Brandon Savransky with First American Natural Hazard Disclosure.
Thank you, Brandon. And please remember, always support our affiliates with your transaction. And we're including open pitching on our virtual MLS breakfast meeting. Today, we have a listing from Jen Chen of Pinnacle Real Estate Group. Jen, are you here? Jen, are you with us for your listing?
He's here. Jen, there it goes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Hello?
Hi, Jen, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, very good. Hi. Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jen with Pinnacle Real Estate Group. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to introduce my new listing in Pasadena. This magnificent Mediterranean-style estate, built in 2004, a floor plan designed by famous feng shui master, is located on the beautiful tree-lined street in the prestigious area in Michelina Park of Pasadena. So this house actually has a main house for 8189 square feet and a detached guest house in the back for 797 square feet. Also has a beautiful pool, spa, and a 5-car garage. All this on a huge 33,465 square feet lot. And also has a private front gate with a circular driveway. Has the front courtyard has a tiered fountain. So the first floor features a formal living room with fireplace, a library, office, formal dining room with a grand fireplace, formal kitchen with a professional Viking 6-burner with a griddle, top of the line appliances, granite countertop kitchen island with sink, and also has a separate work kitchen, breakfast area, and a spectacular 1,000 square feet great room with a full-size built-in bar. So the great room is very good for family gathering together or holding a big party. So the first floor also has a laundry, a master bedroom with a jacuzzi and a steam shower. So also the second floor features a very big master bedroom and another 3-bedroom suite. So upstairs has total 4-bedroom suite and 1 laundry room. Also, each bedroom has a balcony. The highlight for this big house is designed by function master, so it has very good function design and also has a very high setting. Each bedroom is like 11 feet high setting, and also the back house also has an extreme high setting with 14 feet high. And per square feet, also the lot is very huge. The lot is almost 34,000 square feet lot. So in this area, like something like this, per square feet is 600 above. But right now, our asking is only 3.88 million. So per square feet is only $432. So this is a really good deal. And I'm going to hold the open house today from 11 to 2. So welcome everybody, come over and check out my new listing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Looks like a great listing.
Thank you.
Okay, so for today's speaker, Mr. Huilen Yan ESQ from Sapient Group. And let me introduce Mr. Huilen Yan to you. Huilen Yan is the founding principal of Sapient Law Group PC. And he is also a partner at LTL Attorneys LLP, a boutique litigation firm located in downtown Los Angeles. In recent years, due to overwhelming demand, Huilen has focused his practice primarily on asset protection and estate planning for high net worth families and foreign nationals. Huilen earned his Bachelor of Arts degree from UC Berkeley and the post-baccalaureate studies in accounting at UCLA, Juris Doctorate degree from Loyola Law School, Los Angeles, where he was awarded the first honor for his academic achievements in several courses. Huilen is a member of the California State Bar Association and active member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and has been recognized in consecutive years by Super Lawyer magazine as a rising star, and recognized in consecutive years as a lawyer of distinction in the area of estate planning. So let's welcome Huilen Yan for our today's topic, estate planning and the living trust. Huilen, take it away.
Sure, thank you, Vincent. Let me first share my screen. Okay, can everyone see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first, good morning, everyone. I wanted to thank Ling and Belen for inviting me to share some of my insights and experience on estate planning. So I think some of the stuff that we're going to go over today, you may already know, but it's intended to kind of just give a general overview of what estate planning entails. And it's a refresher for some of you who have already had experience with and working with an estate plan. So first, a legal formality. This basically just says that you shouldn't believe anything I say today, that you should independently check everything that I'm telling you, whether it's related to the legality of a certain situation or tax issues. Vincent basically gave you my bio, but I wanted to touch on it a little bit more. So I've been in the legal field for 16 years. I am a partner at, LTL Attorneys downtown, and we're working on some pretty exciting projects involving AI. So we're using AI to handle primarily defense cases. Our clients are currently Ford and Walmart. So we're handling their forced lemon law litigation. And for Walmart, we're handling a lot of their employment litigation using AI. So this has been able to save them a lot of money. And it's something I'm very excited about, and it's sure to be a boon in years to come. I founded Sapient Law Group about 10 years ago, and my focus is really on asset protection and tax mitigation strategies now. So it involves a lot of advanced planning. So it goes beyond setting up a living trust in a will, but using irrevocable trusts, using trusts in non-California jurisdictions to achieve certain goals, to protect assets, and also to lower tax liability. Generally speaking, today we're going to go over some estate planning statistics. We're going to see what's happening, post-COVID and what you might want to think about. We're going to discuss, why someone would need an estate plan. So questions to ask yourself, questions to perhaps, ask your clients. We're going to then touch on some very, basics, some basics around, living trusts, how to set them up, what a living trust can do for you. We're going to touch on, what estate planning documents should cover, what a typical estate plan package that we prepare would look like. Next, we're going to talk about funding your trust, which I think is extremely important because we see more clients who have not properly funded their trust than those who actually have. And then lastly, I'll kind of just give everyone a brief takeaway and talk about why you should think about planning now and not kind of pushing this off. So what has been COVID-19's impact on estate planning? So traditionally, it's always kind of been the case that around 60% of the population in the US do not have an estate plan. So an estate plan can mean, having a will, it could mean having a trust, it can be having some combination of those things. So if you look at 2017, about 42% of Americans who were polled had an estate plan. In 2021, in spite of the consequences of COVID-19, this figure actually dropped to 33%. Now, part of that can be attributed to the fact that people were at home and probably weren't thinking about talking to an attorney or visiting an attorney to get something like this done. Okay, but oddly enough, in spite of, I think that globally, or maybe in the US, I think we reached 4 million deaths from COVID-19. And if you just use this kind of general statistic, I mean, if more than half of a lot of those people did not have, estate plans set up, then all of those cases are going to end up in probate court. And surprisingly, only 5% of the total population cited COVID-19 as a reason that they ultimately, in recent months or in the last year, decided to obtain an estate plan. So a lot of times, when we talk to a client, we do our conduct our preliminary intake. We ask them, hey, so why did it take you so long? What made you want to set one up now? But all in all, why haven't you prepared one yet? And oftentimes they'll say, well, we've been pushing this off. We'll get it prepared eventually. Some clients will say, well, we're not that wealthy. We don't have that much money, right? We have a house, some money in the bank account. We don't think we're a good candidate for an estate plan. Some say, we don't want to give anything to our kids yet, right? We want to be able to spend the money ourselves. We want, flexibility and stuff like that. Other clients say, well, we don't want to lose control over our assets. And this is often a misconception about what an estate plan, a living trust, and a will is intended to do for you. And then lastly, a lot of them just simply say, we haven't found the right legal counsel to help us, right? So hopefully, by, through today's kind of webinar, you guys will be able to better understand, what I might be able to do for you or for your clients. And so we're happy to provide, free consultations, 30 minutes each to kind of guide your clients in the right direction. So who needs an estate plan, right? If you guys are talking about whether it's yourselves, again, whether you're speaking with your clients, we kind of prepared a list of questions that you should ask yourself. And the first, obviously, is, do you want to leave a legacy for your loved ones, right? Do you want your family, your kids, your spouse to be able to inherit the assets that you've accumulated in your lifetime? 2, is privacy important to you, right? For those of you who are familiar with living trusts, it does not necessarily confer asset protection, but yes, it does confer some amount of privacy if, depending on the naming convention that you use for your trust. right? So you can somewhat achieve your privacy goal. 3, do you have special circumstances to consider, right? In recent years, because of global tax issues, a lot of people have cross-border tax implications to be concerned about, right? In Asia, what's prevalent these days is the common reporting standard, right? You have to report, countries have to report assets that a foreign national holds within that jurisdiction, and it's mandatory, right? You have FATCA on the US side, right? Where you have to report, accounts and assets here if you're a green card holder or a US citizen, right? So these are tax implications that are, causing some people to think about using trusts to kind of resolve some of those issues. Do you have blended families, right? Did you have a divorce? You have kids from a previous marriage? These are some things to think about in the context of setting up a trust. Disabilities, wasteful spending habits, right? We have a lot of clients who, a lot of Chinese clients in recent years who got a green card for their children to go to school here, but they come here, they're alone, they don't necessarily need to know what to do with all this money they have, and so they end up squandering it all, right? So you can set up a trust to maybe control some of that spending, to monitor kind of their usage. 4, are you interested in philanthropy and charitable giving, right? We know that through charitable giving, you can achieve certain tax advantages, right? So this is something that for wealthier, more high net worth individuals who have a considerable amount of taxable income, charitable giving could be a reason to set up some type of trust. Do you have specific wishes for loved ones to carry out upon incapacity or death? I know that this topic, at least I can speak from personal experience, this is a very sensitive issue for a lot of Asian families, right? This topic about death is very taboo, but it's something that you clearly have to think about because anything can happen on any given day. And if you do have some specific wishes in mind, having an estate plan that really conveys that is extremely important. Lastly, if you're a business owner, are your personal assets protected and shielded from liability, right? By virtue of simply having a living trust, it is not, but it's how you might be able to combine that using a corporate entity, a family limited partnership, an LLC, combining that maybe with a trust that's in another jurisdiction like Wyoming or South Dakota or Nevada, right? How do you combine all of these tools together to achieve that end? So I guess the first step is, just understand what's available to you, right? So I've listed here, 3 primary estate planning tools. So number 1, most common, that people know about is a will, right? So wills are used to divide up property and debts, to designate conservators or guardians, to specifically disinherit someone, and this does happen. Sometimes families will specifically disinherit a child, a family member. That's what a will can be used for. But something to note is that wills still need to go through probate. So by virtue of having a will, it doesn't necessarily avoid probate, right? And we'll get into some of the downside of having to go through that process in a bit. Next, trusts. So the most basic, most common form of a trust is your revocable living trust. Some people call it a family trust, some people just call it a living trust, but basically it's just used in conjunction with a will to assist those with larger or more complex estates, to make distributions upon death. They can even make distributions while living. You can set up a trust with provisions to pay tuition for one of the beneficiaries, right? To put a down payment on a home when they reach a certain age, to buy them a car if that's what they need, right? It can be used for those who want to mitigate some amount of tax liability, or have, more importantly, have their estate affairs managed in private. And the reason I say that is because the probate process is very public. So if you go on the probate court website, you can look at all of the cases that are going through probate court. And in court, that's really where you will see, to an extent, family members fighting amongst themselves. People coming out of the woodwork to claim that they were supposed to, get some piece of property or the Ferrari that the father left behind. Right, so that's when you see a lot of this litigation. Right, but by having a living trust, which can be administered privately, you can avoid some of those issues. More importantly, trusts do not go through probate. Right, so if we're talking about achieving a certain goal using a trust, mainly it's so that you don't have to avoid, you don't have to go through the probate process. And lastly, you have advanced directives. So in California, it's called an advanced healthcare directive. In other jurisdictions, it's just called a healthcare power of attorney. But you have these to confer authority in another person to make financial or healthcare decisions if one becomes disabled or incapacitated. Right. So when we think about trusts and wills, usually that kind of kicks in when someone passes away. Right. But what if someone's still alive, but they're simply in a coma, right? Who can make decisions to sell a property, to withdraw, a substantial sum from a bank account, right? So in any estate plan, you kind of have to have a combination of all of these tools. As far as probate, so in January 1st, 2020, any gross estate valued at $166,250 or more must go through probate, absent a will or a living trust. Okay. Previously, it was $150,000. They increased it by $16,000. But remember that this is a gross estate value, right? So it doesn't care about more outstanding mortgage or debts, right? The probate fees and court costs is calculated by statute. It's a graduated scale, right, which I've listed out for you. But just to give you an idea, a $1 million gross estate, okay, so no will, no living trust, $1 million gross estate. The average cost is $46,000, okay? This does not include extraordinary fees that an attorney can seek if there's some type of abnormality or certain complexity to administering this estate, right? So beyond the 46,000, if a family has properties that are out of state, if certain properties are encumbered in a certain way where there's a lot of logistical hurdles, then in addition to the 46,000, they can ask for more, right? So if you think about going to a website, even like a LegalZoom, I don't know how much they charge now, but even if you went to LegalZoom and you're comfortable with not speaking with an attorney, just kind of doing it yourself, I mean, I think you could get it done for $1,000 or $1,200, right? So versus 46,000. I mean, I think it's pretty clear why it's important to kind of bite the bullet and set this up now. So what are some of the benefits of, a living trust? One is you maintain control of your assets during your lifetime. I definitely get a lot of clients who have this as their paramount concern, is that they somehow believe through what they've heard or through their experience with a trust in another country that, hey, if I set up a trust, does that mean that I've given everything away and now it's going to be hard for me to sell my house if I wanted to. It's going to be hard for me to, write a check from the bank account. And that's all not true, right? A revocable living trust is a trust that you can change, amend. You can terminate the trust at any time. Right? You can make modifications to suit your family's circumstances at any given point in time. Right? And the key is, if you sell it, you just clear it from the trust schedule and you sell it. You take the proceeds in your bank account, you move on, right? If you add another property, right, you add another investment, or you open another account, an investment account or what have you, you add it to your trust schedule, right? You record it in the name of the trust and you're done. You have full control. Another benefit is you can use special provisions to meet family needs or objectives, right? So for families who have kids with disabilities, right? Maybe they have learning disability, they have, they might be autistic or on that kind of spectrum. You can set up, supplemental or special needs trusts to help them, to help take care of them when parents are no longer around. Another benefit is that you can avoid lengthy, expensive, and a very public probate process, right? On average, I would say a probate case can last from anywhere from 9 months to a couple of years, okay? The probate courts are extremely inundated with these cases. And again, once the case is in probate, I mean, you will find that people will come out of the woodwork to make claims and to dispute, who these assets belong to, right? If you have a minor child, I'm speaking from my own experience with a case, you can have a minor child who eventually ended up getting nothing because an uncle came out and said that, oh no, actually, it was meant to be for me to take care of this child. And so this child really had no one to go to bat for him, and ended up losing this money to the uncle, right? So again, these are some things where, by having your living trust done, by having your will done, some of these powers of attorneys, completed, you can avoid all of that. Another benefit, for most of you that are realtors or in the real estate business, is that you get a step-up basis, right, for certain types of assets, real estate, stock. And why is this important? Well, first, let's talk about what might change, right? So Biden's current tax proposal is extremely aggressive, right? And it's intended to be that way because he needs to leave room for negotiation, right? So he's talking about, lowering the lifetime gift and estate tax exemption from 11.7 million to as low as 3.5 million per person, right? Not adjusted for inflation. He's talking about increasing the estate tax rate from 40 to 45%. He's talking about, for capital gains issues, using, the income tax scale instead of using long or short-term capital gains tax rates, right? So if he gets, what he wants, then in California, if you combine that with California taxes, you're talking about more than half will be paid as capital gains tax, right? More than half, right? So you made $500,000, but you're going to owe 300,000. You net 200,000, right? And then as far as the step-up basis, he's talking about eliminating the step-up basis, right? So what does the step-up basis mean for those of you that may not understand? What that means is you buy a house for $1 million, right? By the time you pass away, it's worth $2 million, right? So your children actually inherit at a stepped-up basis of $2 million, which means that they can turn around and sell it for $2 million and pay no tax, right? The alternative, if there's no step up in basis, they would have to cover that $1 million gain and pay the taxes on that, right? So what does that mean? That means the IRS tax bill is due within 9 months, right? So after you file Form 706, the tax bill is due in 9 months. So liquidity is what they need, right? If they have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax, they need liquidity. That's why you see, sometimes you'll see trust sales, estate sales, and this is because there's a tax bill due. And so the children, the beneficiaries, they have to sell the thing in order to satisfy the tax liability, right? So traditionally, by having a step up in basis, at least you can kind of alleviate that burden, right? There still might be issues with estate taxes owed and whatnot, but at least for that particular asset, they inherit at a higher basis, and there's nothing for them to worry about on that end. But the flip side to that is, of course, the higher basis becomes part of the estate value. Okay. Another benefit is confers elements of enhanced privacy and protection, and some ability when you have the naming conventions that I talked about, or combining that with certain entities. So naming conventions, what does that mean? So a lot of people, when they have an attorney draft their trust, let's say it's John Smith and Jane Doe, it might be called the John Smith and Jane Doe family living trust, right? So on the speaking from litigation experience, so what does that mean? Is if we have a lawsuit against John Smith and Jane Doe, we go on LexisNexis public record search or whatnot, we do a search for assets under those names, we would still pull up any asset that they have recorded under that name. Okay, but if the naming convention is instead was just something random, family living trust, then it doesn't necessarily prevent a creditor from finding that asset, but it does make it a little bit more difficult. And by making it more difficult, some creditors may find it, they might lose interest, right? Or they might go after another asset or figure out another way to come after the debtor, right? So it's all about kind of enhancing, protection, or maybe just conferring a certain amount of privacy by using these creative naming conventions and combining it with other entities. So as far as tax considerations for living trusts, so just remember these three things. I kind of touched on it earlier, but a living trust does not reduce your income tax liability. Okay, any income tax liability generated from, let's say, income producing assets, it still follows the settler's social security number. So you still have to account for those. The living trust does not reduce, but might defer estate taxes, right? By deferral, that's kind of a specific provision within the trust to help defer. So an example of that would be, qualified domestic trust provision for families that have a non-citizen spouse. That defers the tax liability when the citizen spouse passes away. But generally, just think about it as a living trust does not reduce estate taxes. And in fact, if you go off of that example that I talked about earlier with the $2 million house from $1 million, $2 million actually counted towards the gross estate, right? So if this person, using numbers today, if this person already had $10 million in other assets, you add in the $2 million house, then on 300,000, he would actually owe 40%. Right? He would actually owe 120,000 in the state, right? Because he cannot use the basis that they bought the house at, but rather the basis at the time of their death. However, a living trust can reduce capital gains tax, right? And they do it because of the step-up basis, right? So something to think about is only advanced planning tools and techniques can mitigate income tax or estate tax liability. So this is actually kind of more, I would say, my bread and butter, stuff that I've been really focused on over the last several years. Examples of these are, defective grantor trusts, right, where you technically confer, convey an asset away for, gift and estate tax purposes, but you retain some reversionary interests, you retain income, so that, you can get something out of your estate, but you can still enjoy the benefits of that. And an example of someone who used this is Mark Zuckerberg. He used an IDGIT, more specifically a GRAT, to confer some of his Facebook shares before it went public. Okay. Irrevocable trusts is another advanced planning tool. Irrevocable trusts can be set up in very many different ways and in many different jurisdictions. because it's irrevocable, it doesn't belong to the settlor. And so creditors technically cannot go over assets, the corpus of that particular type of trust. Something that I tend to work on a lot at the end of the tax year are charitable trusts, right? So you can have charitable remainder trusts, charitable lead trusts, but this is a way for people who have significant capital gains to offset some of their taxable income. Okay. Another type of trust that I work on that's not as commonly discussed is a deferred sales trust. A deferred sales trust basically takes advantage of Internal Revenue Code section 453. A lot of you are probably familiar with 1031 exchanges, right? But those are like-kind exchanges pertaining to real estate, right? Commercial real estate, right? You couldn't do your personal residence, and it's kind of very limited in its application. But for deferred sales trusts, people can use it for, company interest. They can use it for their own personal residence, and you can think about it as more of it's an itemized kind of installment sale method, right? So again, something that a lot of people aren't necessarily familiar with, but it can be done if structured properly, and it can withstand IRS scrutiny. Okay. Lastly, we set up trusts out of state and sometimes offshore, right? And this is again for people who have CRS concerns, people who have had money traditionally kind of offshore. How do you kind of set up certain structures or use certain jurisdictions, maybe non-California because of the California tax liability, but how do you use these other types of trusts to kind of achieve certain ends? Now, I always encourage people to use every tool available to you. I mean, a lot of these things are going to be very foreign to you. A lot of the stuff that I shared with you on that last slide, you may or may not have ever heard about. But I think it's important to really evaluate your own circumstances. And then, start, fundamentally with a living trust. But, depending on your circumstances, your client's circumstances, if they're extremely high net worth, they're a business owner, you may be familiar with, who their kids are, maybe they have disabilities or other types of concerns. Well, yeah, I think you should encourage them to ask the right questions and kind of use all the tools that are available to them. Right. So before you meet with an estate planning attorney, this is kind of what I would do. Right. First, talk about that taboo kind of topic, that subject. Right. Discuss issues surrounding death. What happens if someone in the family dies? What happens if someone becomes incapacitated? Right. Be kind of open about your financial situation. Right. Assets, liabilities, even with your spouse, children, other relatives, trusted friends, etc. Right. So that people aren't suddenly hit with a tax bill or they don't receive a letter from some creditor. Right. Be kind of open about some of these issues. Right. For those of you who have business partners, other professionals already helping you, financial advisors, maybe other attorneys, your accountants, I think it's time to maybe discuss some of the ramifications of having an estate plan in place, right? Verify and confirm what I just told you about having a living trust. Does a living trust confer any income tax advantages? Can it help with capital gains? Is there a step-up basis? How do I kind of incorporate all of these different tools together to achieve certain tax mitigation goals, right? Third, identify your immediate, short-term, and long-term goals, right? If you were to set up an estate plan today, what would it look like? What would it look like in 5 years? What could it look like 10 years from now? Are you expecting children? Are you expecting grandchildren? Are you thinking about, getting a divorce, right? These are some of the things that you should kind of have in mind when you meet with your attorney, right? Lastly, you have to identify, people who are going to play a role in your estate plan, right? Who are you going to designate as a successor trustee? Who are you going to designate as conservator, a guardian? Who are your advisors going to be? In certain types of trusts, you have so-called trust protectors, right? Who do you trust enough to play a role in something like this? And what I can tell you is sometimes the most trusted people actually may not be your family members or friends. And this is why there are legal fiduciaries that exist to play these types of roles, right? Because family members, when all of a sudden they are in control of a huge estate, the actual beneficiaries are extremely young, they're minors, they don't know any better. Well, bad things can happen, right? And so this is why for some people, they will designate certain trust companies or other fiduciaries to play roles in their estate plan documents, attorneys, right? So something to think about again when you meet with an estate planning attorney. Now for us, we get a lot of calls, people asking like, hey, how much do you guys charge to, draft a will? How much do you guys charge to prepare a trust, prepare a basic living trust, the most basic one? Our family circumstances are very simple. We just want the cheapest one, right? So I tell them is like, we don't kind of do things in piecemeal, right? Everything that we do is an entire package, and the package is basically in place so that you're kind of covered no matter what happens, right? If it's an issue of incapacity, well, you're covered there. If it's an issue of death, you would be covered, right? So what is kind of a typical estate plan that we prepare? What does that look like? So for us, we have a revocable living trust first and foremost. We have a pour over will, and it's important to remember that for married couples, the living trust can be joint, but each spouse will have their own will, because wills follow the individual person, whereas a trust can be prepared jointly. Okay, so we have the trust, we have the will, we have a durable power of attorney for financial decisions. We have an advanced healthcare directive for healthcare related decisions. We have the HIPAA release, right? This has to do with medical privacy and the release of medical records. We have a certification of trust. What that is basically it's think of it as an affidavit that a trust exists. So when you use that, you provide it to escrow to close on a property. You provide that to a bank when you open a bank account. That's the only document that you need to provide, right? You don't need to send your 200-page estate plan to anyone, right? Because that contains very private, perhaps sensitive information, right? So you would send the certification of trust and just kind of be done with it. You would have an assignment of personal property, right? Because usually trusts tend to control what happens with larger, more complex assets, right? Your house, investment accounts, stuff like that. But what if you have, you're a collector of watches, right? You collect Ferraris, right? I have a client who collects Ferraris, right? So that doesn't necessarily go through his trust, but it's done through a personal property assignment. He can actually assign each Ferrari to a different person if he wanted to, right? You have jewelry, you have art, right? That's the type of personal property that would be covered by this type of assignment. Lastly, you have your remembrance and services memorandum. And this is where you would basically tell your loved ones, what you want to do, what you want them to do with your remains. Maybe you want to be cremated, you want to be buried in your home country. You have a lot that you purchased at Rose Hills, right? This is where you would kind of list that type of information. So this is what we provide to all of our clients, right? We don't like to do things in piecemeal because we don't think it covers everything that a client needs. So we would prefer just to give you everything that we think you need at that moment. If you need to make certain changes, modifications, obviously we would charge separately for that, but at least you would have a baseline to work off of. Any modifications or changes or amendments, we would deal with that later on. So proper estate planning yields more to your family by mitigating and or avoiding the following. Yielding more really means that your beneficiaries will inherit more of the assets, right? A bigger chunk of the assets, right? So it can in some way avoid gift and estate tax or gift and death taxes, right? So an example of that is a qualified personal residence trust, right? That's kind of it's considered a defective type of trust where you're conferring property at a certain basis, but you retain the right to live in this property for a certain number of years, right? You can avoid capital gains taxes, where you kind of touched on this. You can avoid income taxes. You can avoid, very extensive probate and attorney's fees, right? Everything, those fees are statutory, even executive commissions, those are statutory, right? So you spend, a couple thousand on a living trust and, living trust package now, or the court will deduct tens of thousands of dollars later on, right? Accounting fees you can avoid. You can avoid having to appraise, right? More importantly, you avoid litigation costs. I can tell you that at LTL, we're working on a number of probate litigation cases, and this is contingency based. So you can imagine, how much, in the end, whatever we recover, we're taking a big chunk of that, right? But if they had, a living trust in place that clearly delineates, who gets what, clearly designates who has authority, who has control, all of this can be avoided.
I will, I'm sorry, because we have a general membership meeting in 10:15. So should we
okay.
sound like a time for the Q&A?
Okay, sure. Okay, I'll just briefly touch on the funding part because that's actually kind of what I wanted to focus on. I just wanted to remind everyone that funding your trust is probably the most important step. Okay, I've seen a lot of clients come in with a living trust that they want amended, and so I start asking them like, okay, so what assets have you transferred to the name of the trust? And some of them did not re-record the property. Some of them did not change the owner of their bank account, right? But all that means is that those assets will still have to go through probate, right? To determine, to find, to identify, to determine who gets what, to determine if it falls within the parameters of that trust. So once you have your trust completed, please remember to fund the trust as soon as possible, right? Change the title, do all of that stuff. Okay, so did you want to go into the Q&A now?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually have several questions, but we probably cannot do all of them, so I will just do from the sequence, okay? And
Sure.
if your question is not answered, you can just see the contact information for Waylon. Then you can consult with him privately, okay? So our first question is, how often should we update our existing living trust?
Oh, okay. Let me go here. So once you have a plan, I mean, we would say maybe every 5 years is sufficient, or when laws change, right? So what happened in 2018 was Trump changed the lifetime gift and estate tax exemption by raising it to 11.2 million at the time, right? So a lot of people came in and they started asking about what they can do about using that exemption through gifting, stuff like that. So when laws change, or otherwise every 5 years, or when some of these circumstances take place.
Okay, then the second question is from Olivia. Is there a way to set up a trust for a child and the gift transfer from a parent's living trust that avoids property tax reassessment.
That avoids the property tax
Property
reassessment?
tax reassessment.
Yeah, so that, I think that issue was why Prop 19 was so controversial. And so some attorneys are setting up certain types of Prop 19 trusts that are intended to kind of avoid that, but it's very difficult. And the deadline actually to do that has kind of passed. So it will likely be reassessed.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. So let me jump to the very last question. This is an interesting question from Cecilia that if your spouse dies and you wish to remarry, do you convert a living trust to irrevocable trust?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll try to answer as fast as I can. So there's different types of trusts. There's bypass trust, ABC trust, AB trust. There's different types of living trusts. So if you had a trust where when one spouse dies, their half becomes irrevocable, then the surviving spouse, if they're remarried, they cannot touch at least that one half of their community property. Okay, but if you incorporate another type of trust, which basically allows the funding up to the full estate tax exemption level, like an ABC type of trust, then you could set up that third trust so that it also becomes untouchable by a spouse who remarries. So you can set up within the trust ways to avoid a spouse who remarries basically taking everything with him or her.
I hope
Okay.
this answered Cecilia's question. I'm sorry, everyone, that we haven't, if we didn't answer your question, please contact William directly. And I believe he will be very glad to answer your question by email. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
And it's very simple and an easy way to explain the trust to us. Sorry, we have a very short time today, but it's very valuable information. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So please, do we still do the attendance drawing today?
Let's do it quickly.
Okay. Dana Gibson, are you here?
No, let's go. Next one.
Okay.
Today is very quick. If you're not here, you're out. Okay.
N1? Is N in
No,
the house?
she's not here.
No.
Try to pick people that's here.
And Wang
like me.
is here.
I'm sorry.
And Wang is here.
No, not when I search her. No.
Sandy
A
Franco?
Wang.
Sandy is here. Sandy.
Okay.
Sandy left. Sandy left.
Oh, okay.
And Wang is not here.
I saw-
And Liang is here.
Oh,
She's typing in the chat box.
yeah, she typed in the chat box for N1.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, she's an A Wang. Okay, so we have one winner. Okay, good. Nika, not Nika. No. Thank you. And would you please type your email address?
Irene Lin, are you here?
When
No?
you guys put in your first name, please try to put in everything. Don't put A Wang. Irene Land is not here.
Not here.
So 2 more winners to go. And please type in your email.
Really Lin. Really, are you here?
No, not here.
No, not here.
2 more. Oh, and Liang is here.
And now, please type your email in the chat box.
Oh, I'm here.
Binchao.
I need the $10 for Amazon. Thank you.
You need to
Okay.
type your email in the chat box.
Okay.
Why?
This summarizes our raffle today. And please remember join our other education classes. And then for next week, we have Director of Community Development for the City of Rosemead, Angelica Frosto Lupo. And the next meeting will be on 9 a.m. July 15th for the development of Rosemead. And please support our affiliates with your transactions. And thank you for coming. And now the meeting is adjourned.